I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. April showers bring May flowers, and that has added significance for the Filipino community. As we head into the Memorial Day weekend, local students remember those fallen.
We can celebrate the soldiers.
And veterans, firefighters, and others team up to bring comfort to wounded soldiers.
You have a lot of veterans out there that, wounded veterans that have nothing. And just to go there and visit them, it means the world to them.
Well, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Francesca Maxime has the night off. Well, with the issue of immigration very much in the news, we begin tonight with the story of immigrants who came to this country and brought with them a beloved tradition. They are the Filipinos, and there are some 60,000 of them in New York City, many of whom this month celebrated Flores de Mayo, the flowers of May. It's about more than just flowers, though. Flores de Mayo is one of the biggest celebrations in the Philippines. It's a festival that lasts the entire month, and Filipinos in our area had a chance to experience it firsthand at the Philippine Consulate in Manhattan.
People here are at the Flores de Mayo Fiesta because it is a grand celebration of our culture that stemmed from the Philippines about honoring Virgin Mary. And they came here because they want to live on our tradition. And it's something that we grew up in the Philippines and now we're bringing here to the United States. Santa Cruzan is a parade of all the reinas. The reinas meaning the queens. So you have different types of queens that represent different parts of the Bible. There's actually a lot more elements, but because we have busy lives here in New York, it's hard to put on a whole full-fledged Santa Cruzan procession on. But one day, we will make it to Fifth Avenue.
If you notice reading sacred scripture, the queen tends to be the mother of the king. If you look at King Solomon and his queen, it was his mother. And the role of the queen mother is to advise the king. She prioritizes the things that he has to look over. She intercedes for the people. Fast forward towards the end of sacred scripture. We see her once again as the woman clothed with the sun, face to face with this dragon who is supposed to devour her child. She defended her child. She defended the church. And she defended each one of us. That is why, when we find ourselves at a loss in the dark, and we find it difficult to talk to God, we go to the Queen Mother.
Since we're, thousands of miles away from home, it's a good opportunity to have that spirit of being Filipino. I'm one of the founders of the Catholic Fellowship of Young Filipino Professionals, and my friends and I started this a year ago because we wanted to find a way to incorporate Philippine tradition and being Catholic. It's a mix, as you can see, it was a mix of Filipinos, non-Filipinos, and different age groups as well. It also provides us with a networking opportunity after to meet people with the same faith, trying to live and work and trying to get by in the city. My parents would be happy to know that here I'm trying to encourage other people to be active in their faith also.
Happy Flores de Mayo!
Flores de Mayo there, and a happy one to all who celebrate it. Well, stay tuned when Currents returns. We'll have the day's headlines, including, after a lot of discussion, the House votes to end Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We'll have the latest. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, some local students remember those who paid the ultimate price. But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. The U.S. House voted Thursday night to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That's the policy that prohibits gays and lesbians from serving openly in the armed forces.
The yeas are 234 and the nays are 194. The amendment is adopted.
The measure passed by the House must also be approved by the Senate. It allows for a repeal of the policy after the Pentagon completes a study of how to implement the changes. The President, Defense Secretary, and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff must also sign on to the repeal before it goes into effect. Conservative Christian groups like the Alliance Defense Fund were quick to criticize the vote. The group's lawyers said that Democrats are, quote, ignoring the dramatic legal impact of the legislation upon religious liberties of thousands of chaplains and service members. President Obama, meantime, said that the repeal would make America's military stronger by allowing gays and lesbians to serve with honesty and integrity. Well, the head of the Worldwide Anglican Church criticized Episcopal Church leaders in the U.S. today for ordaining an openly lesbian bishop. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Dr. Rowan Williams, said in a Pentecost letter that the Episcopal Church should play a lesser role in certain dialogues. The Archbishop stopped short of suggesting the U.S. body should leave the Anglican Communion. The Reverend Mary Glasspool was raised to the level of bishop in the Episcopal Diocese of Los Angeles earlier this month. In Rome, Pope Benedict met with Italian bishops Thursday to talk about education, but as we hear from Rome Reports now, the clergy sex abuse scandal was also on the pontiff's mind.
Benedict XVI showed again the necessity of penance, forgiveness, and justice to overcome the cases of sexual abuse committed by priests. It was during a meeting with Italian bishops.
Ciò che è motivo di scandalo deve tradursi per noi in richiamo a un profondo bisogno di reimparare la penitenza, di accettare la purificazione, di imparare da una parte il perdono, dall'altra parte la necessità della giustizia.
The Pope observed that the desire for new evangelization in the Church does not hide the wounds caused by weakness and sin of some of its members. He said this painful situation should not obscure the free and passionate service of many people, starting from priests. Benedict XVI also said this year for priests has been an opportunity to recognize the work of many priests who can be considered saints, like Cure of Ars, the patron of priests. The Pope also spoke of the necessity to offer an adequate education to new generations in these moments in which those prevail the fatigue and an unattainable rhythm of life. He also reminded them that it's not about the transmission of information, but about showing them how to relate with the world.
A group of young people from across the globe will gather at St. Peter's Basilica tomorrow to pray for priests and the church in light of the sex abuse crisis. Well, back here in this country, the head of the U.S. Bishops' Conference Committee on Migration criticized President Obama's plan to send up to 1,200 troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. Bishop John Wester of Salt Lake City said the plan would not solve the problem of illegal immigration and would create a greater divide between immigrants and law enforcement. The administration said the extra troops would not be on the front lines, but would provide support services for Border Patrol already in place. Former evangelist and megachurch pastor Ted Haggard is set to make a surprise groundbreaking announcement next week. A spokesman says Haggard's announcement will come from his home in Colorado Springs, Colorado. There's no word on exactly what the announcement might be. Now, Haggard, you'll remember, is the former head of the National Association of Evangelicals, a position from which he resigned after a former male prostitute accused him of paying for sex and taking drugs in 2006. And finally, administrators at a Massachusetts high school recently put a stop to a play that some said was way over the top. But the student behind it says she just wanted to make a point about marriage. Susan Tran has the story.
Flipping through the program for this year's Drama Club Festival is as close as Amanda Corrales got to seeing the one-act play she was set to direct.
I knew from the beginning that people weren't going to be all right with the lines, but then we changed some of them at the end. Like, we took out some of the language.
The Wedding Story by Julianne Homoke was pulled from this weekend's performance after the parent of a freshman in the play found the content inappropriate, and the Attleboro School Board agreed.
Reading the script, many of the members felt like this was way over the top. It just contradicted all the values we're trying to teach our kids at Attleboro.
The play is about a storyteller who tells a bedtime story to children about two high school sweethearts who fall in love and get married. But the bride and groom in the play, they interject with their own realities.
So the storyteller reformulates the story, saying the groom takes up with the drag queen. The bride dies of a somewhat accidental drug overdose. Then the groom, traveling through Wyoming, is dragged to his death by homophobic rednecks.
If you're a Catholic person, you were insulted. If you were a black person, you were insulted. If you were a homosexual, you were insulted.
Corellis decided to skip the controversy and pulled the play, even though the honor student said it was a satirical piece with a message she wanted her peers to see.
Marriage is in a kind of a sad state lately, and that was the point that I was trying to get across.
That is Susan Tran reporting. Stay tuned, there's much more Currents coming up. Just ahead, this Memorial Day, a special way of remembering those who are still in the fight.
He was 24. He had one leg gone, and the other one was going to go.
Wow.
And yet, he wanted both legs put back, and he wanted to go back.
Welcome back. Well, as we prepare to mark Memorial Day, I'm sure a lot of people are firing up the barbecue, checking the weather forecast too. But this is, most importantly, a time to salute those who paid the ultimate price while serving our country. It's also an opportunity to remember as well those veterans who are continuing to fight their own battles here at home. Well, joining me to talk about all that is Vincent Daniello. He's a World War II veteran. Also Philip Giordano, who served 2 tours in Afghanistan. He's now a firefighter with Ladder Company 172 here in Brooklyn. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, the Wounded Warrior Project is teaming up with FDNY, also veterans groups, to kind of help out soldiers who have been wounded. That's, of course, what the Wounded Warriors Project is all about. This time around, it's about troops at Walter Reed Medical Center in Washington. Tell me a little bit about the partnership, kind of where it originated.
We were down there in April. We were down there. We went to Walter Reed, Bethesda, and we went to a nursing home where there are all veterans. Everyone was in a wheelchair. It was really something to see. It got to you. And we took down a lot of things that they needed, a lot of toiletries, pajamas, sweatshirts and all that. They really appreciated all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it did our hearts good to see all that.
Yeah. It's just like the basic essentials. When you're in a situation like that, the basic essentials mean a lot.
It does. They were really appreciative of it, what we did for them. And we enjoyed doing it.
Right. Philip, how'd you get involved with this?
Linda Thompson, she's a spokesperson for our fire department. She takes a big part in communications and outreach into civilians and pretty much bringing the civilian sector of the fire department and the veterans all to one. You know, I also got part of it when I got out of the military. It was also a program to kind of volunteer and just be part of everything. You know, I like to give back a little bit. You know, after serving, it's a great program, the Wounded Warrior Project. They really get a good message out there. You have a lot of veterans out there that, wounded veterans that have nothing. And just to go there and visit them, it means the world to them.
Right.
They're just happy to be alive. They've been through a lot.
Yeah.
You know.
And you know, serving 2 tours in Afghanistan yourself, I mean, these are guys who are just a little bit younger than you are, a lot of them your same age, who you see there who are wounded. I mean, you know, missing limbs and you know, just such you know, such a trying time in their lives. What does it mean to you personally just to see that and to be able to now help them?
It means a lot. The older you get, I think, at least for me, I'm 28, the older you get, the more it kind of hits you a little harder because, you know, I was fortunate enough to come home with limbs and everything, and the same guys were not fortunate to come home. So a lot of people, civilians, military, they take that for granted a little bit, especially on a holiday like this, Memorial Day. It's a really time to remember who gave and everything.
You said you were 28, by the way, and Vincent's over here shaking his head going, oh, this kid beside me.
He's just a little kid.
Vincent, as we said, World War II veteran. He's got the hat to prove it. Do you mind if I show this?
Yeah, go ahead, sure.
I'm going to show this. This is a World War II veteran hat. And he was wearing this when he came in. It was casting a little shadow on his head. So we're like, hey, could you take it off? But I wanted to show it because he's a veteran and he's got the hat to prove it, all right? But being a World War II veteran, I mean, it's been a long time since you were in the service.
Oh, geez, yes.
And seeing such young kids, really, who are now wounded and being able to help them in this way is got to be moving for you as well.
Oh, very moving. It just gets to me now. As I got older, I got softer. At one time, you were hardened enough, but as I got older and older, I'm very soft now. I cry with them. When I was down at Walter Reed, I hooked up with a kid. He was 24. He had one leg gone, and the other one was going to go.
Wow.
And yet, he wanted both legs put back, and he wanted to go back.
Wow.
I mean, a great attitude these kids got back.
It's amazing.
It's amazing how these kids are. At my days when we were, it was entirely different. It was a different war, different time.
Yeah.
You know, but this is entirely different.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
Right.
It really hurts me.
I can only imagine. Well, coming up on July 22nd, tell me a little about what's going to be happening.
We're going to have a big block party from 19th Avenue to 18th, from 69th to 71st. It's going to be a great big party. And they start, the way I understand, they started in Texas, coming up, these kids.
It's about a 3,200-mile race.
Wow.
And they stop it at Macy's. Then from Macy's, they coming back to Brooklyn.
Wow.
And we're all going to meet them approximately about 3 o'clock.
Around engine 330, a lot of 172 where I work.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have a nice dinner, preparing food, and
they're going to provide a lot of food. All the fire departments are coming in. They're great cooks, by the way.
So I hear.
They are. They're really
I hear great things about the food at fire departments. I really do.
So they're providing all the food. The tents will be up in case it rained. Last year it rained, but we still had a great time.
Yeah.
And then you get to meet all these kids, which is something that you never forget. So I suggest that whoever is listening, get out there July 22nd and greet these kids in here.
Great.
That's my opinion.
Awesome. Well, of course, I'll post more information about that on our website. I'll get contact information from you guys as well about how folks can become a part of this and help out Wounded Warrior as well. You want to mention a website or an email or anything?
If anybody has any questions about the race or anything they can do to maybe help the Wounded Warrior Project, they can go to woundedwarriorproject.org.
Okay.
And on there, it's pretty much self-explanatory. It'll give you times and dates. It's like they have a whole calendar marked for the year of different events that they'll be participating in.
Great.
And just anything that you need to know will be there.
Great, awesome. And we'll link up to that on our website as well. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you both for your service. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
so much.
Thank you.
Philip, we really appreciate it. Thank you. Well, I'll actually have more, as I mentioned, about how you can help these men over on our blog. Just go to currentsny.net, click on Riding the Wave. But stay with us, there's much more Currents still to come. When we return, remembering those who paid the ultimate price.
We're planting a seed of what it means to be patriotic, what it means to be an American.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, Memorial Day weekend is getting underway, but at Arlington National Cemetery outside Washington, the solemn remembrance actually began yesterday. That was when soldiers arrived to begin placing more than 250,000 flags on grave sites at the cemetery, honoring those who paid the ultimate price to protect our nation. It took members of the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment 3 hours to place all of those flags, which will remain in the cemetery through Monday. Well, much closer to home, though, some local school children also taking time to remember fallen soldiers. They're the students of Pope John Paul II Family Academy. We caught up with them this morning at the school as they prepared to start a special trip.
Today, my class and I are going to Cypress Hills Cemetery. We're gonna pray for the soldiers that died for us.
And we're gonna sing songs from America and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
They could have do the music and then they could have put us on TV.
As Catholics, everything that we do in this school, every piece of the curriculum is infused with our Catholicity and in the notion that we are building American Catholic families here in Bushwick, Brooklyn. We decided that because we are so very close to Cypress Hills National Cemetery, it would be important to bring our children to those hallowed grounds and then fuse into that our sense of prayer, thankfulness for those who fought and died for our country, and then prayer for those who are right now fighting and dying for our country.
I will thank the soldiers for all they have done for my family, for all the people in the United States of America. Fallen soldiers saved our lives.
They fight for us so we could have free. We can celebrate the soldiers.
We're planting a seed of what it means to be patriotic, what it means to be an American, and what it means to bring your Catholicity to that entire experience.
That is amazing. A time for prayer there, of course, remembrance as well for those children and for all of us this upcoming holiday. Well, that's it for tonight. Remember, you can always catch us online. We're at currentsny.net. Check out our Facebook page as well. We've got constant updates going on there as well. Until next time, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for being here for the show tonight. Have a wonderful weekend and a happy and safe Memorial Day.